Some of you will be just joining late, or some of you will hopefully watch this in replay. I'm Kathy Klotz-Guest, and I want to talk about a few things that I talked about in one of my blabs earlier today. One of the blabs that I did earlier today was all about, welcome everybody. One of the blabs that I did earlier today, if you want to see more snippets on that, you can go to Blab and do a search for Connecting with Humor, Felicia Slattery. You can search for my name, Kathy Klotz-Guest, and I just did the blab this morning. We talked about adding humor to your storytelling and adding humor to marketing. So I'm going to try to just give you the Reader's Digest version. There's a lot of ways to do that. That's way too much probably to talk about here. So I'm just going to give you sort of a handful of tips. All right, so one of the first things you can do if you want to use humor in your storytelling and use humor, obviously, there's jokes. There's jokes. If you're a great joke teller, great, do the joke thing. Not everybody can do the jokes. That's totally fine. It's okay. The second thing you can do is truth. Just tell the truth and exaggerate. And there's truth in comedy, and a lot of jokes are based on the truth. So start with the kernel of what the truth is, and then take it over the top. So, for example, if the truth about being a parent is one thing, comically exaggerate, heighten. The heightening is in the crazier it gets, the crazier it gets. The mayhem commercials that you see, the insurance commercials, with the living, breathing, walking embodiment of mayhem, he gets put in all these crazy situations. It's actually pretty funny. I believe it's Allstate Insurance. It's just a kind of a walking metaphor for danger, and that's a great use of the truth, the fear that we all have about what might happen, and we take it to this comically exaggerated place. So start with the truth about your pain points, the pain points for your audience, and exaggerate and heighten. If you cater to small businesses, for example, small businesses are always being talked down on price. So if you did a funny video about all the different scenarios where your clients are being talked down on price, they'd probably laugh. They laugh because they all relate to it. So start there. The truth is a great way to heighten. Contrast. Another way to use it in your storytelling is contrast. Contrasts are funny. It's, when things don't belong, we call that something is incongruous to the situation. So contrasts, somebody doesn't belong. Fish out of water concept is what I talked about this morning on the blab. When you've got something that doesn't belong in one world, seeing that person try to manage to sink or swim in that world where they don't belong is kind of funny. And seeing everybody around that person try to manage that is funny too. So think about, Meet the Parents with Ben Stiller's character. And he can't do Gaylord Fokker, he cannot do anything right. And the harder he works to try to fix it, the worse it gets. He's a fish out of water. And that contrast with Robert De Niro's character is brilliant. It's funny. It just comically heightens. So contrasts are great. Use those in your story. The third thing is unexpected. Go to an unexpected place. Twists and turns. When you're telling a story, your audience isn't going to, maybe you've got a big punchline, or maybe it's a very funny story, but if it's a story that's a minute or 2 minutes long, most audiences won't wait for the end to get to a punchline. They want to see humor all along. So think of it as a twisty road, a winding road, and that all along these little hidden corners, there should be a joke, a laugh, something unexpected. It can be expected, but the unexpected works as well. So find these hidden surprises, these little Easter eggs, and use those. Use those to great effect. I'd say that the fourth thing is your isms. Everybody has isms. It's the way that you talk. Everybody talks in a way that's unique to them. I have my own isms. I make up words all the time. Anybody who has given birth, I'm a woman who's given birth. If you're a mom and you've given birth, things happen to your bladder. I call it obliterated. It's obliterated. And all right, today I used estrogentrified because there were no women on a blab. And I said, let's estrogentrify this. So combine words. But I have a way of speaking that's me, and it works for me. And so when I drop those in to my marketing, or I drop them into my storytelling, it strengthens it because the audience is able to see that it's me, and everything that I'm doing is me-isms. So take your you-isms that are unique to you and weave those in. It's really important to just, again, give it your flavor, your personality, really important. And finally, I'd say in a lot of stories is embrace what's things you can't control. So embrace an improv yes and mentality. One of the things that happens a lot is that if you're speaking, maybe somebody's cell phone goes off or something gets knocked over, and whatever, if you're giving a presentation, your PowerPoint slides will go down because the projector will fail. It's inevitable. Things will happen. So have these little things along the way that you can kind of call them planned moments of spontaneity, where maybe you deviate from the presentation, you interact with your audience. So allow those yes and moments. Today I gave a story where I was giving a talk and somebody's phone kept ringing and it was driving me crazy. So I grabbed the phone. I said, "Is this okay?" And he's like, yeah. And it was his wife. And I answered the phone and we put her on speakerphone, and she laughed. The audience laughed. He laughed. The phone stopped ringing finally, but we had a moment of fun and levity. And so it's okay to embrace these moments in your talks, in your marketing. If you're using live streaming video, somebody says something, somebody does something, you had an unexpected oops. Embrace those things. Those are moments those are gifts actually, because they're spontaneity and you can't plan for them. So just be willing to take those things. So again, we've got a bunch of different ways to do it in your storytelling. The truth is great. Start with the truth and comically heighten it. Contrast. Contrast is brilliant. Things that are incongruous, that don't belong, are funny. If you were in a therapy group and there were all these people needing therapy, and then you had all of a sudden a GPS device, that GPS would feel like, there's no place for this GPS anymore in this world because everybody gets their maps on their iPhone. So they've been displaced and maybe they need therapy and they're in a therapy group. And how funny would that be to see a device in a therapy group? So think about these different things. Contrast. Yes, and. Have an open kind of yes, and whatever comes your way. Whatever gets thrown at you with a live audience, go for it. Just embrace these little moments where glitches happen, and they will. It's a beautiful, beautiful gift. So just go there and embrace your you-isms. I have my own Kathy-isms, like I say, and you have your own you-isms. I think it's really important to embrace those. So that's all I had. If you have any questions or comments, you can type those in the little box. You can also see the blab today. As I said, you can search blab and look for connecting with humor. And that was a whole hour-long blab with all kinds of tips and suggestions that I did this morning. And I'll have that posted on my website, keepingithuman.com, a little later. And we'll see you back on Friday for the next Periscope. Thanks, everybody.